Hello and welcome to our live sleep chat. My name is Mar DiCarlo. I am the founder and educational director of the International Parenting and Health Institute. And today I am joined by Soda Kushkowski, who is our integrative adult sleep coach instructor, as well as the founder of Start with Sleep. And we are very excited about today's conversation. We are going to be talking about understanding the types of thinking and how the way that you think is very important to your work with your holistic approach in working with your clients. There are so many ways of thinking. When I started researching into the types of thinking, I was also surprised about the kinds of thinking that exist and the different definitions and how people categorize them. I mean, it's so much to sort through. There's some references or sources that say there's 6 types of thinking, while others say that there's 7, others say that there's 10, and there's various ways to categorize them. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in and we are so passionate about at the International Parenting Health Institute is about our holistic approach to thinking, the way that we perceive and we work through not only how we learn, but how we also work with our clients. So today, Soda and I are going to talk about that. We actually are going to discuss understanding holistic thinking and why it works best for coaching. Even if you're not a holistic coach, you may want to consider it. We're going to be talking about the limitations in how we look to apply information. And this is where we're going to just very briefly share with you the different types of thinking. And then from there, we're just going to talk about our approach. We're going to get into our approach. And then if you have any more interest, please do let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to follow up with another topic on this discussion, or we can also provide you more information if you're interested in taking your education further and want to study with us. And just so you know too, if you do like what you are seeing and hearing today, please do hit that like and subscribe button because we will have a lot more. You can check myself out at parentinghealthinstitute.com, at mardicarlo.com. You can check out Soda Kushkowski at startwithsleep.com. And again, she is the main instructor for our Integrative Adult Sleep Coach course, so you can always find out more information about her as well. Okay, so let's Taj and Bella. Taj. Oy. I'm here. Am I here?
I can see you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes. Are you sharing the slide?
My computer is going berserk today. It keeps freezing on me. Okay, I'm going to do one thing right here. Maybe it's an application that's open. So I'm going to shut this entire window down and see if that helps. Let's see here. Okay, maybe that will do it. I'm going to shut down this whole thing here and maybe that will clear something up for us. Okay, am I still here? Did I get cut out with anything that I said?
Nope. Everything was clear.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I'm still frozen, but if you're hearing me, we're going to continue. I'm like, I don't know. All right. Okay, so let us go. So let's start talking, Soda, today about understanding how we think. Why, for you, have you noticed that this can be a limitation or frustration for a lot of professional coaches out there and in how they're thinking? What have you observed or seen in this area?
Well, I mean, I think for me, because I mean, I was one of the original graduates for, the Integrative Adult Sleep Coach program. And one of the reasons that I was kind of drawn to this organization was because of the holistic approach and thinking. Coming from, traditional healthcare, and even just in our schooling, right? When we go to school, we are taught to think very linearly when it comes to information. It's like you learn the information, you apply it in one way. It's a right or wrong answer. And it's not really that creative thinking, that divergent thinking that we're going to be talking about today. When it comes to coaching, or when it comes to helping individuals overcome challenges or really meet their goals, it's all about problem solving, right? And that involves brainstorming and thinking outside of the box and drawing from a lot of different areas. And that was one thing that really drew me to this, because it's not a one size fits all. We know sleep is very individualistic, but the individual as well has many factors that could come into play, right? Not everyone is built the same way. They might have the same challenges, but because of their backgrounds, right? Their core beliefs, their environment, when we talk about holistic approach to things, we're talking about the not only the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the social. There's so many different aspects and factors that go into working with an individual. And I think that involves really a different type of thinking, right? We need to be able to incorporate different types of thinking in order to provide them the solution that they're looking for.
Exactly, 100%. What I have found very similar, and that's one of the reasons why I have always felt very much passionate about this work. As you already know, and others of you who don't know, I work in a number of fields. So sleep is one of them. I focus a lot on curriculum development. I guess that you would say would be more of my forte. I'm very innovative when it comes to curriculum development, and I like the dots and see where the missing pieces are and where we can expand in terms of our skill set, where we can challenge ourselves and where we can go beyond. I've always been someone who's been very inquisitive, and I enjoy thinking outside of the box. I'm very creative, but at the same time, I'm also very logical. And so what's really great is that in the way that we work, and what Soda is mentioning to all of you and what she's sharing with you, is that our approach is one where we use both sides of the brain, right? There's the left and right sides of the brain. We have the logical, the analytical, and then we also have the creative or the intuitive. And so when both of them work together and function together, then you have this whole brain, you have this holistic way of thinking, you have a very systematic approach that then allows you to see the whole picture, and you're then ensuring you're not missing the mark on anything. And when you're helping a client solve a number of issues, from not being able to sleep at night, but then you start uncovering the various reasons why. Some of it could be the nutrition, it could be their beliefs and thoughts, it could be their schedule, a variety of things. In order to sort through a situation like that, to be able to apply all the different ways of thinking, to turn on, your critical thinking, your creative thinking, divergent, convergent. Well, I'm just going to list a few in a moment, is very important, because then you're ensuring that you're not leaving anything out. You're able then to see the entire situation for what it is. You're able then to understand, meet your client where they're at, and figure out, okay, what is really going on? Where is my client getting stuck? Often when we are thinking linearly, and like Soda was mentioning, then what happens is you don't often see a lot of hidden things that could be leading to the problems, that could be a root cause. And you may be sticking to a certain methodology, a certain system. And because you're stuck and so rigid to that system or linear way of thinking, then as a result, you don't allow yourself to go beyond that and see other potential areas that may be influencing your client and getting in their own way. So ways of thinking are so important. And if you haven't done so, we encourage all of you to begin evaluating. How do I think? Do I think more logically, more creatively? Do I do a bit of both? And then challenge yourself to start to think a bit differently. And there's a couple of quotes that we want to share with you. Actually, one is from Soda that she provided that I absolutely love. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And that's by Albert Einstein. So thank you for that quote, Soda. Absolutely 100%. And then one of my favorite ones is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So meaning that, perspective really dire, and perspective really is everything, right? So you can't expect to have different results by thinking the same way, by applying the same things. If you really want to dive deeper, explore more, understand a situation more, it does require you then to think differently, to perceive differently.
Yeah, and I think, with the different types of thinking, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, with the different types,
go ahead.
One of the things with the different types of thinking, especially with what we put together in this program, is putting that into practice. Because when you might think to yourself and reflect, like, what is my learning style, what is my thinking style? But a lot of what we put into practice within the program is teaching you how to ask more open-ended questions. And I think that's where like a skill as a coach is developed, because it's not about asking yes or no questions, right? We want those open-ended, probing questions where it encourages dialogue, it encourages an individual to think and reflect and assess, and it really helps them put, the things that are getting in their way. A lot of times we get in our own way, right? But how do we reflect on that? And we do that by self-assessing, right? But unless we're asking ourselves the right questions, or we're asking individuals the right questions, we're not going to be able to divulge that information that we need in order to make a larger assessment, right?
Absolutely. You made a very important point about the habits and patterns we have in how we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And unless we begin practicing the new skill and acquiring a new skill of thinking differently, you're going to continue falling into the habit of thinking in your old patterns. And this is also what Soda and I often have seen, where we have participants who will join our program, for example, and they're used to thinking in a very linear way. And until they get to the practicum part, where they really get to begin assessing and evaluating, putting into practice everything that they're learning from us, their mind continues to go to the linear way of thinking. And as a result, it might be more challenging for them to connect the dots and understand certain things, because they're trying to grasp at something through a linear way of thinking when it requires a holistic way of thinking. So one of the great things about our program is that practical application for us is vital, and it is a requirement. We at our organization understand very clearly that in order for anyone to acquire a tremendous skill, and this kind of skill of coaching, especially a holistic way of coaching, it requires practice, and you can't get around that. You can read all the books you want on, holistic coaching, on thinking. You can read everything that's out there, but until you begin putting things into the practice, and you begin to see where you're limiting yourself, and you begin to have a more conscious awareness of your languaging and how you're thinking, the questions that you are asking or aren't asking, then you're going to find yourself in this loop. And so this is why it is important to, once you begin on this path, to begin that self-assessment of how you're thinking, what kinds of questions are you asking, and so on. Anything else you want to add there, Soda?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a transformative way of thinking. Exactly what you said, putting it into practice is one thing that I encourage individuals. Until you're continuously doing something, you're not going to kind of get outside of what we're all kind of in this box of the way we do things. And until you push yourself outside of those boundaries, right, you're not able to kind of cross over to that other side to see what you're missing. We see this often in the program, especially with students, where it's especially in the field of sleep, right? Like people are like, oh, well, sleep is a natural process. Like, yeah, if I'm having trouble with sleep, I understand. It might have to do with light. It might have to do with caffeine. But when you're talking about a different type of thinking, right? It's how do each of those things apply to the individual, their specific challenges, their specific goals. Like light, we know is important, but everyone can use light as a tool in a different way. If you're someone who works shift work versus someone who works a traditional schedule, someone who wakes up early versus someone who tends to wake up a little bit more mid-morning, the way we regulate light is also going to be a tool. So we have to think creatively, like, how is it affecting our life, right? It might be one thing, but we can look at it in many different ways and apply it in different ways. And that's the difference that we make as sleep coaches.
100%. And ensuring that you're not in that interpretation, even limiting your own self and getting stuck in one way of thinking. And that's why we enjoy what we do, because you might have a specific interpretation of something, but then challenge that and say, okay, is that the case? And that's where the scientific part of our holistic science of sleep method comes in, because we want to ensure that through this process of investigation that our coaches are going through, that they are going through what you are assessing and evaluating, you're experimenting, you're trying things out to see, okay, here's all the information that I gathered. Here's what I'm finding based on, all the inquiry and assessing. All right, let's now see if this is the case. Let's apply this. But then through that application, you're still having an openness. You do not close the door and make the assumption that this is it. You still maintain, like a scientist does, an open curiosity to see, okay, will this give me the results that I think it is, based on what we have found out, what we've uncovered is the root cause and the solution we're going to apply to this, or not? So you always have that openness and that curiosity in the mix versus, okay, this is what it is, this is what we're going to do. And then you shut off that opportunity to maintain that openness and that curiosity. So, just to give you an idea, we're not going to get into it because today we just want to have very open, informal live chat with all of you, like we always love to do. But just to give you a small window of an idea of just the different kinds of thinking, there's analytical thinking, there's divergent thinking, there's convergent thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking.
Abstract thinking, concrete thinking, sequential and linear thinking, which is what we were talking about. And then there's holistic thinking. And holistic thinking is when we take all of, whether it be the 6, the 7, the 10, whatever information is out there, and we actually put all of them into application. And what we're looking is at a whole person approach. I just finished the list for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. So that's it. And so when you're thinking in the holistic terms, you're basically looking at a whole systems approach. You're understanding all these different ways of thinking that come into play that, are very important to have as part of your assessing process and working with your client. But if that's lacking, there easily can be a number of limitations and misinterpretations and misunderstandings, which will then lead to, going into a variety of cycles and repetition of things, or limitations in the way that you're working with your clients. And so for us, we want to ensure that you're providing or giving yourself an opportunity not to get stuck so easily in those situations. And you can really get to the root cause of what's going on and then apply the necessary solutions that you customize specifically to meet that client's needs. Let's see, what else do we want to share here? Do we want to talk a little bit about the holistic science of sleep method?
Absolutely. Do you want to kind of give the definition of that, and then we can
Sure. I will go right into that. So basically, the holistic science of sleep method. Hold on. Here we go.
Which was coined by Mara DiCarlo. There's a book, Awakening Through Sleep.
Yes, I wrote a book in 2015 called Awakening Through Sleep. And the intention of this book is not to undervalue by any means all of the incredible work that so many sleep experts have contributed in our profession. There's no question that the contribution of a numerous amount of sleep experts have changed lives for the better. And so the purpose of this book is not at all to challenge any of that, but to actually expand upon that. Is to basically share, okay, let's expand upon what we have and see what's missing. Because often, again, very relatable to this topic, if we don't think outside the box, if we don't challenge the way that we're thinking, we will get stuck. And so especially in maternity and child sleep, there's a number of methodologies called sleep training, which often are very one size fits all, cookie cutter. You do in adult sleep have some of that, not as much, but people can get stuck in methodology very easily as well. And so the intention and purpose of this book is to expand upon a new way of thinking and perceiving things. And this is what I introduce with my holistic science of sleep method. And I talk a lot about, various topics and themes that you don't often think about when it comes to sleep. And so anyway, if you're interested, my book's on Amazon. Thank you, Soda. Amazon, you can find it, Awakening Through Sleep. So what the holistic science of sleep method does is basically an adult and child sleep system that combines holistic thinking, science, intuition, basically all the ways of thinking that we just covered with the scientific method. We want to ensure that someone does go through the process of a scientific method where in order to provide long-term and balanced solutions to adult and child sleep. And what we do through the holistic science of sleep method is that we investigate and we address the imbalances in human function that are either internal or external. And a lot of times as coaches, because we do not have a medical or a therapeutic background, what we then do is we will refer out. So let's say we are seeing some symptoms or signs of what could be a medical condition or psychological condition. Then what we would do is we would refer out to then see if indeed there is something going on there. So often what may happen is that you might have a client that has a nutritional deficiency. And so we as coaches, unless you have an additional degree or license to do so, unless you do, we do not diagnose, we do not treat or examine. But what we do is we raise awareness. We shine the light on things where we see, this could be an issue. So if we see that there's signs or symptoms possibly of nutritional deficiency or food sensitivity, for example, we refer out. We would then see what those results are. And then from there, we could figure out, okay, what is the best plan of action to support this client in their health and lifestyle? So we look at all these factors internally as well as externally to figure out where those imbalances are and then help our clients achieve a kind of lifestyle. That's where we really fit in very well, because we're also asked a lot of times, well, why coaches when you have a naturopath, or a nutritionist? Like, how does a sleep coach really provide a value when you have all these other professionals that also have these medical backgrounds, that are licensed, not just in medical, but also in therapeutic? And it has to do with lifestyle, because we spend so much time supporting our clients through the day to day, where these other professions are not focused on the day to day. They're focused on, let's find what's going on. Let's help you, deal with your challenge. But the lifestyle is not their main focus, where for us, it's okay, let's get you on the path where every decision that you're making every day, the structure of how you're living your life, we're going to support you in a way and help you structure that so that the choices that you're making and your lifestyle can start to shift in a way that's going to support you and help you sleep more optimally and so on.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest distinctions in terms of holistic thinking, holistic coaching, beyond like the open-ended questions, it's about creating that dialogue. It's one of the things that I've said, I've been in this industry almost 16 years. And just even last weekend, I had a dietitian who came in and we were talking about nutrition and sleep. And I can't tell you how often people say, oh, I never thought about it that way. Or, oh, I never thought to ask. Like, I was talking about open-ended questioning because she was asking, about sleep. And I was sharing with her a little bit about, the certification program and, the advantages of it. And I said, one of the main things that we focus on is asking more of the questions and creating that dialogue that you might not necessarily have thought of. And it opens up kind of like this entire thinking process that wasn't there before. You can help individuals in a whole new way. She was saying she was working with a client for a period of time and she's kind of hit a wall and an impasse and she doesn't know what to do. And one of the biggest challenges, not only on the mental health end, but on the sleep end with this client, she's like, I think I've thought of everything. I talked to her about caffeine. I talked to her about light. And just as I said to you when we started this, I said, well, it all depends on her individual situation and how we're applying those different things, and when I found out, she has irregular sleep patterns, she's sleeping, mid-afternoon into the next morning, that's excessive sleeping. We know there's a lot of negative consequences that are tied to that as well. And she's like, oh, I just thought, if you're getting enough sleep, then that's enough. And it's not about that too. Having a consistent pattern and like sleeping during the correct blocks of time is just, obviously quality sleep is going to be the most important, but the time that you sleep is important too, and whether or not you're finding a balance. And that's one thing that I often hear from professionals is, oh, I never thought about it that way. And she said, well, I'm going to definitely look into that program because I guess there's things that I could really use in my practice that I hadn't thought of previously. Are you there, Mara? Did I miss you? I think she might be frozen. But that was, that's something that I find, especially within this program. I have a lot of different types of students. One of the things that I pride myself on, especially in the field of sleep health and sleep coaching, is all the opportunities that are really present. Beyond the different types of demographics that need representation, there's such a lack of knowledge about sleep health, but also how it relates to specific niches. Like I had just recently done an article on sleep and farmers, and that's a whole other demographic that you're talking about. Workplace injuries, they're waking up, at odd times. They're just like first responders and protective services where it's like, things could happen at any given moment. And we don't necessarily think to ourselves like, I have enough time to sleep, right? But there's all these things that can pop up and I can only have these small windows. So how do I improve the quality of my sleep within that demographic? So that's education that's needed within niches, right? So there's a lot to understand about sleep and the field of sleep, and it's very multifaceted. But by changing the way that we think about it, right, we can represent certain markets and really address their individual needs within it. Hey, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here again. Both my children are home right now, and I think that, I don't know, something's happening with our internet today. Technical. We will fix it for next time. Been
Well,
having
I carried on, but
thank you. Major technical issues. But in where you were last leaving off, and from what I heard, Soda, this is why I just, you know, it's almost like I wake up every single day with this drive, and I get so excited to support people on this path of discovery, because it is so much about that discovery process. When you were sharing about, okay, how you're meeting this client and talking about the quality of sleep and the things that you're uncovering, and your, clients saying, or coach saying, wow, I never thought of it like that. Similarly, I go through so many situations where we look at a case, we start looking at, it piece by piece, and it's those details. It could be, the way someone described a situation, or even the way that the use of a word, for example. I mean, there's so many details that often can get easily overlooked, because we just get stuck on, well, I did these main things that I was taught. I was taught how to do A, B, C, D. And so I'm in this box, and that's how I apply everything to, sleep. But when you take a step back and you begin looking at all those kinds of things, then you understand that is, sorry, it's one of those days today. Then you understand that, there's so much more to the situation. And one thing that will advance your coaching. So anyone that's out there, if you're a coach, whether this is mainly for sleep coaches, okay, maternity and child, adult sleep coaches, this is what Soda and I are supporting you with. But any coach that's out there that's listening to this, if there's any way that you want to advance your skill set and you want to take things to a whole nother level with your coaching, start here. Understand the way that you are thinking. Start diving into assessing, how am I thinking? Am I using both my right and left sides of my brain? Am I connecting all the dots? And when you start assessing that, then what Soda said earlier, begin practicing. There's a number of exercises out there if you want for fun. You don't have to. You could take your own cases to practice, but there's actually a number of thinking brain exercises that are out there. So if you want to challenge the way that you think, and you search on there, types of thinking exercises, you will find a numerous amount that exist out there that'll be a lot of fun to challenge the way that you think as well. So that's another avenue that you can go down. But Soda and I highly encourage all of you to start on this path. It will change your life forever. It will change the way that you apply, and the way that you work with your clients. It will change a number of things, and you'll notice a huge difference in your skill set. You're going to start to notice that your level of how you've been working is going to, I personally feel you're going to level up a few steps, not just one, but quite a few steps when you start to,
Sleep is, obviously sleep is my focus. It's right. My love and my passion. But one of the things that I love about this program, and you continue to add modules to the program as well, is the foundational pieces that are here in terms of understanding your own core beliefs, understanding what are our own individual triggers. Like, there's so much information that goes into before we even get into the sleep education that is really such a foundational piece for being a holistic coach, for being a problem solver, for being a creative thinker, for working with your community. Like, there's so many, for running a business, there's so many different aspects that are incorporated into this program beyond the sleep education. It really could benefit any type of market, whether it's wellness or not.
Yes. All right. I think that's it for today. Unless there's anything else we want to add, we just wanted to share with you this topic and, pique your interest and encourage you and inspire you to start diving into this. Of course, if you want to learn more, like I said in the very beginning, please comment. Also, if you liked what you heard, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button as well. Share this with your friends, your professionals. Soda and I are very passionate about this work. We really put so much heart and soul to what we do. We're We're so dedicated and we're so committed to not only maintaining our curriculum, but advancing. As Soda mentioned, we're always expanding upon, what we provide our professionals. And we're always looking into, everything we're sharing today, Soda and I do. We basically work very holistically with our curriculum as well. So we're always looking for ways to expand upon what we're teaching, dive deeper into what we're teaching. And so, yes, you definitely will receive from us a whole lot of passion, dedication, and skill set in terms of curriculum development to enhance your skills. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to our next sleep chat in the new year. So happy holidays to all of you. We wish all of you and your loved ones a wonderful holiday season, as well as a happy new year. And Soda and I look forward to joining you in the new year. Take care.